the nature of how he had died and passed on was very intense and upsetting, and it definitely, I felt his emotions. So at one of my jobs, I used to work at a university, and this university had a lot of history there. So needless to say, I was definitely visited by a lot of spirits while I was working there. The building that I worked in was actually haunted, luckily by nothing that was particularly bad. But because there was just so much history at this university, I definitely would pick up on, for example, like the founder and other spirits, which, yes, again, I didn't think that it was real until I started to realize that the stuff that I was getting, the information that I was getting, was actually true. One time I was attending an event at the university just as part of my job, and there was a speaker there, and now he was an old war veteran, and he was speaking at the front of the auditorium, or rather like the kind of like a gymnasium area that they used to set up tables, and they would have like formal events there, and they would set up a stage. He was talking up on the stage. Now, because he was an old war veteran, I definitely sensed a lot of spirits around him. And immediately my mind came in and said, well, obviously, Celeste, like, that's not news. He probably would, of all people, have spirits surrounding him. So you're not psychic. You're just like stating the obvious if you believe in ghosts. So that happened, and I was like, wow, this is intense. Like, I was feeling it. You know, after all of my experiences that I have had, you would think that I would actually like trust in this, but there's still that little bit of doubt in my mind, which I think is a healthy doubt, just to say like, well, I could be wrong. But in this case, I was not. One of the things that I picked up on was that I suddenly sensed his wife in the audience. And even though ghosts don't really have to sit, but I feel as though sometimes they will show you images of themselves doing things in a human way, because that is just how they see themselves. They see themselves maybe sitting or standing next to somebody. So I will sense people sitting next to somebody. Anyhow, when I was sensing his wife, which I personally did not know that his wife had even passed on. I didn't really know much else about him other than that he was a war veteran, and a little bit about that and his like credentials. But I didn't know anything about his personal life. I was sensing his wife, so I said, okay, I could be completely wrong, but I think his wife is here. And I saw her sitting, and she was watching him speak up on the stage, and she just seemed so proud of him and just so much still a part of his life and what he was doing. And I felt that love from her, and I felt the warmth from her, like as she was watching him speak. And I ended up picking up on some other things too, because I knew her name started with an M, and I later figured out, like, it kind of came to me that her name was like Martha or something like that. And then I also started to hear how she died. I knew that she wanted me to know that she was there. She also probably wanted him to know that he was there, but like I said before, I'm just not comfortable with sharing that information, because not everybody is open to receiving it. And if you're not, then it can really cause damage. And I just did not want to do that to somebody, or even like invade somebody's personal privacy and information that maybe they don't want me to know, or they don't want to know that I know. I went home and I ended up looking it up. He did have some of his information up there about his wife, and I did find out that I was correct about her name and about the way that she passed away. Not even known that she had even passed away, like that alone was just impressive to me, but then that I was able to hear her name and also how she had died, I just was like definitely chilled. One other story that I have to tell is another really intense visit by a spirit. So I also want to mention too that some people who have like intense anxiety, I know not everybody falls under this category, but I feel like if you have intense anxiety, you may actually be picking up on spiritual energy and spirits who are trying to reach out and talk to you. But of course, that's not for everybody. Some people do legitimately have anxiety. Sometimes I have anxiety and it has nothing to do with a spirit. So it really can depend on the person. But I do feel like some people are actually picking up on a spirit and they just don't know it. So they just are like, why am I anxious right now? I don't really understand why, but it can affect your life and you just don't even know that that's why it's affecting you. It has helped me a lot realizing that I am tapping into a spirit. And also, it's helped me a lot knowing how to reach out to them and communicate to them so that I can just kind of like relay the message that they need me to relay, and then they will even just like leave me alone. Honestly, sometimes it is just really intense and uncomfortable, and sometimes all they want is just to be acknowledged. A lot of times spirits just want you to let them know, like, yeah, I hear you, you know, you've passed on, like, it's okay. So let me tell this story about this one particular person, and it is a sad kind of a story because this person had committed suicide and this is how they had passed away, and I personally did not know them, but once again, my boyfriend at the time, he had known this person and didn't know him very well, but had come in contact with him, was deeply affected by the fact that he had taken his own life. And what had happened is I was actually just pumping gas in my car, and this person, the spirit of this person appeared to me from behind, and it was actually a little scary. Like, I felt his energy of this man. Again, I didn't know him personally, but when he appeared to me, I knew of him. So I definitely felt like it was this person, and it was really intense, and he was telling me to let Justin know that he was here. I think a lot of times too, if you're sensitive, spirits want to connect with somebody. So if they see that you are sensitive, or they know that you're going to recognize and hear them, like, they're going to go to you as opposed to constantly bothering the people who are just like not noticing them at all, which I can imagine would be very frustrating. And I can definitely feel their frustration when they are talking to me and when they are just like trying to get my attention. So sometimes it can feel scary, but it's not that they're trying to scare you. There are definitely entities and spiritual things that are trying to scare you, you know, that they feed off of your fear. But most of the times when it comes to spirits who have passed on but used to be humans, most of the time they are just scared or angry, or they just are frustrated because they can't speak the way they want to in a physical way. That's why when they come to me, they're already kind of frustrated. So this spirit, I could definitely feel, was pretty frustrated. The nature of how he had died and passed on was very intense and upsetting, and it definitely, I felt his emotions. Very powerful, like, to just even be visited by this spirit, but I knew that I needed to relay his message. And honestly, it could also be very hard because I was trying to drive home. I had that energy coming at me, and I was listening to him, and I said, okay, like, hang on, wait just a second, like, I need to get to where I'm going before I can really address this situation. And in that way, it is fulfilling when I can pass along messages that this, for this spirit, you know, for this person who has passed on. It's nice when you can ease their pain and ease their frustrations because you're able to say, hey, I hear you, I see you, and I'm here, I can help you. A lot of times too, after I help them or I just kind of relay their message, as simple as it may be, they completely calm down. Usually I don't hear from them again. For this person in particular, I told Justin that he had visited me, and I also mentioned that the name Bo had come to mind. Like, this guy, I didn't know his name either, but I just said, like, hey, he wanted me to mention, like, Bo, and I did not even know this person's name. I did not even know who he was talking about. So when he said that, I was just like, does that make any sense to you? Like, what does Bo have to do with this person? And Justin basically, like, he was very serious at the time, but he said, yeah, like, me and this guy I know, like, my friend, his name is Bo. We were talking about this friend of theirs, you know, who had passed on, the spirit. They were talking about him together and probably reflecting on him and his life. it just was like confirmation. That's all it was meant to be. And I knew that. It was like all that was meant to be was just to confirm that it was really this spirit, you know, this is really the spirit of this guy. So that was really powerful. And afterwards, he did want to relay like more messages, which I probably won't share because they were really personal to the situation. I was able to communicate just this sense, this feeling, this knowing that I had about this spirit. So when it comes to paranormal stories, sometimes it's not all about getting scared, and it's not all about just like freaky things happening that can't be explained. Sometimes it's important for these messages for us to like listen to the spirits and just hear them out, and that's all they want, is just recognition. Sometimes definitely if you're not comfortable or you're not familiar with spirits, like you can't necessarily rule out that they aren't trying to scare you. Usually your intuition will know either way. Each situation is different, and you know, there's no way for me to tell for sure that like every spirit that is haunting somebody means well. Spirits are just like people, and also there's other beings out there. So for me, this stuff is very real. I've run into so many different types of spirits. You can even watch some of my other videos. I have 2 other paranormal story times, and I also have some other ones about a psychic attack where I was definitely attacked by a negative entity, which is not a spirit at all and has never lived on Earth. You may be familiar with that. So that's going to do it for my story. I'm sorry I'm kind of losing daylight right now, but if you do enjoy this story, please let me know in the comments below if you want to hear more about some of my weird interactions and confrontations by spirits and ghosts. I also was thinking I might do a video or story time about some of my experiences that I've had with things like deities and other light beings and those kinds of spiritual experiences. So if you are interested in that, let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, please subscribe to my channel if you enjoy all things kind of spiritual, paranormal, and just unexplainable. And otherwise, I hope to see you back soon, but bye for now.